More than 7 decades have gone by since a king rode out from Buckingham Palace on the day of his official birthday. Back in 1950, it was George VI. Today, it's his grandson, King Charles III, who will inspect his troops on Horse Guards Parade amid all the pageantry, the music and the ceremony of Trooping the Colour. And as we all know, so much has changed since the parade of 12 months ago here on Horse Guards. We have a new monarch. We have 3 new royal colonels. We have all 5 Foot Guards regiments taking part for the first time in over 30 years. But one thing never changes, and that's the tradition of trooping the colour to celebrate the sovereign's official birthday. As we were saying, this is the first birthday parade of the new reign, so it's a very special honour for the 1st Battalion Welsh Guards to be trooping their colour for King Charles III, who was Prince of Wales, served as Colonel of the regiment for 47 years. The last occasion on which the Welsh Guards trooped their colour was 3 years ago in 2020, when a smaller scale event was held at Windsor Castle. But this year at Horse Guards, as you can see, it's all very much a full programme of ceremony and military music, with an audience of thousands of people in the stands here and many more watching around the UK and overseas. The Duchess of Edinburgh making her way with Timothy Lawrence, husband of the Princess Royal. Normally we'd see the Duke of Edinburgh, Prince Edward, in this carriage, but Henry, it's the case today, of course, that the Duke of Edinburgh has new royal duties in this procession.
He does, Hugh, yes. As there are now, the London Guards are reserved part of the Household Division, are actually on parade, street lining on the Mall. He is rightly taking his place as their Royal Colonel, mounted, and will be riding in the main procession.
In the second carriage, the Duke and Duchess of Gloucester. Duke was a first cousin of Her late Majesty the Queen, and another first cousin of the late Queen, the Duke of Kent, who's 87 this year, travelling by car to Horse Guards Parade, and he's travelling with his son today. So the carriages making their way towards the Mall, this famous processional route on the short journey to Horse Guards Parade. King Charles III salutes on the day of his first birthday parade as monarch. The royal salute sounded by the field officer's trumpeter, the sovereign's escort, telling the world that the king is on his way, riding to his first birthday parade as sovereign, followed by 3 royal colonels. We have the Princess Royal, who's the colonel of the Blues and Royals. We have the Duke of Edinburgh of the London Guard, and we have the Prince of Wales for the first time in this procession as colonel of the Welsh Guards. Princess Royal riding Sir John, Prince Edward riding George, and Prince William riding Derby today. These horses, gifts of the Royal Canadian Mounted Police. And there in the carriage, that's a lovely sight, isn't it? We have Prince George and Princess Charlotte and Prince Louis, along with Queen Camilla, and we have the Princess of Wales too. The Queen wearing a red silk dress which reflects the heritage of the Grenadier Guards, because she's of course the new colonel of the Grenadier Guards, and the Princess of Wales in green, reflecting her new association with the Irish Guards. And the King, who for more than 70 years has been watching and taking part in this parade, started as a very young prince, now riding to his parade, the King's birthday parade. Vice Admiral Timothy Lawrence and the Duchess of Edinburgh heading for the archway here at Horse Guards. The royal guests will be watching from the office of the Major General commanding the Household Division. The office once occupied by the Duke of Wellington in days gone by, where you can see the office windows have been prepared especially. It's a wonderful vantage point for today's parade. Just passing the saluting base there, where the King will be taking the salute when the troops march past, and the mounted troops do. Be a group of Chelsea pensioners, all of them happy to come along, led by Major Matt Clarkson, and by the way, the oldest in pensioner there today, Mike Campbell-Smith, who's 89. So we hope they have a great day. King, who first attended this event on Horse Guards in 1951 as a very young prince. And here he is, over 70 years later, saluting the colour as monarch. The royal colonel saluting, and the coachman, Matt Powers, who's saluting the colour with his whip. So as the King approaches the saluting base, one of the greatest military parades anywhere in the world is about to begin. The field officer will be ordering the royal salute, after which His Majesty will, for the first time as monarch, inspect the line of guards. It is, in every sense of the word, an historic day.
Guards! Royal salute! Present! Arms! Shoulder! Arms!
Lieutenant Colonel David Barringer. He is directing the mass band today. And in line with tradition, first section of today's ceremony starts as the King, the regimental colonels and the senior officers inspect the line of guards. The march is Welsh Spirit, a new arrangement. Music composed by Major Lauren Patritz-Watts, who's the Welsh Guards Director of Music and the first woman to become a Director of Music in the Household Division. Just a year ago, the Prince of Wales, as he was then, inspected this line on Her Majesty's behalf. And that parade reminded many of the ceremony back in 1951, this very place when Princess Elizabeth inspected the line on her father's behalf. So some very powerful parallels. Change of tempo. The mass band switches to Let the Hills Resound, written by Brynley Richards, a Welsh composer whose works include God Bless the Prince of Wales. Just a few days ago at Buckingham Palace, His Majesty presented a new sovereign standard to the Blues and Royals. The Household Cavalry Mounted Regiment bearing the new King's cipher and crown. Saluting the King's Troop, Royal Horse Artillery, commanded by Major Fran Sykes. The Royal Party saluting the lead gun of the King's Troop, which constitutes the regimental colour. The unmistakable figure of Major General commanding the Household Division, the last formal event in which Major General Christopher Geika will be taking part. He'll be leaving the Army this summer after a long and distinguished career and a momentous period in charge of the Household Division.
Reflect how lucky I have been to be able to take part in these amazing events. I'm very sad that it's my last one. The Troop in the Colour is an amazing experience for all of us on a horse to ride down on a bright summer's day, with the crowds and the flags and with a sense of occasion. You soak up the atmosphere. And so I think it's a feeling of privilege and pride for all of us to take part in such a special day.
Major General Chris Geika with some thoughts on what the day means, and everyone here enjoying the music with the strong Welsh flavour. Plenty more to come. The man in charge, as I mentioned, Senior Director of Music of the Household Bands, Lieutenant Colonel David Barringer.
So it's my first Troop in the Colour as the commanding officer. I've done several Troop in the Colour before, but it's really special to be the person that gets to conduct the mass bands. I'm a Welsh Guards officer, having been the Welsh Guards Director of Music, and throughout the parade, there's lots of moments where you'll think, yeah, we know that's a Welsh tune. For the troops on parade and for His Majesty, it's sort of a little bit of home, I suppose. It makes them feel like they're at home when they're delivering the parade, that they'll hear all this music that is so important to them.
That was Lieutenant Colonel David Barringer, who knows better than anyone that for many people, the best piece of music, well, best perhaps, has German origins. It's the one that is heard every year. It's the march by Meyerbeer called Les Huguenots, and it's an opportunity to see the mass band and to hear the mass band in all its glory. It's one of the highlights of the parade for many people. It's a tune that once listened to can't be forgotten, and it's coming up now, and just enjoy. The signal for the mass bands to counter march be given by the trombonist, Welsh Guards Colour Sergeant Andrew Mercer. He's the longest serving musician in the Foot Guards. Signal for them to counter march.
March!
Senior Drum Major Gareth Chambers gives the order for a change of pace. This is called Welsh Diadem. It's a double celebration of the King's birthday and his coronation, composed by Lance Corporal Gareth Trott, who's playing the euphonium in the parade today. The lone drummer breaking away, Lance Sergeant Chusa Siwale, marching to a position to the right of the escort, ready for the next phase of the parade, and Henry knows him well.
Do you? Yeah. Lance Sergeant Siwale was one of my guardsmen when I was in command, and he actually was the lone drummer in 2020 when we performed the troop in a reduced format on the quadrangle of Windsor Castle. And of course, he is very much a soldier, as the Corps of Drums are guardsmen, are soldiers. So if you're avoidance of doubt, they are absolutely frontline soldiers first and foremost, and then they form the Corps of Drums for key parades. And his role now will be to signal the officers to take post so the escort can get ready to march around.
He's quite a character.
He is indeed, yeah. He's a very good drummer.
Drummer playing 8 bars of a field signal called the drummer's call. And the next phase of the parade, Henry, what is happening?
So the Sergeant Major now moves to the rear of the escort, and the orderly marched out, Lance Corporal William Asamoah. Interestingly, he was actually my orderly in Last Commanding Officer. I think the Sergeant Major may have poached him there. But the Sergeant Major now draws his sword, but it's a significant moment in the parade. It's the only time a Sergeant Major will draw his sword on parade, because he formally takes charge of the colour when the escort is marched forward and takes his position in front of the colour party on the other side of the square, and the Sergeant Major will then hand the colour to the ensign to be ready to troop.
For the colour! In close order! Left! Dress!
Subaltern of the escort, Captain James Phillips, giving the order for the escort to take up their dressing in close order. Tighter formation for the march forward.
Escort for the colour will advance! By the left! Quick! March!
And at last, the long-awaited moment when the escort can step off to the familiar tune of the British Grenadiers. They'll be marching forward to hold some 16 paces from the colour party, ready for the collection to take place.
That's right, Hugh. So they'll now get ready to left turn on the march and then advance towards the colour. And on the other side of the square, the colour sergeant Bladen is getting ready to receive his rifle to be able to then take his place within the ranks when he's handed over the colour.
Arms! On attack! Avant! Turn!
Director of music moving through the band to the front, and we're now approaching the most significant part of the ceremony.
Sharon! Change! Arms! Long! Arms!
And what a very special and proud moment for the Regimental Sergeant Major David Lewis, Di Lewis from Port Talbot, who was telling me the other day that this really is the summit. And again, Henry, just a proud moment, but also a moment that he'll never forget.
No, not at all. I spoke to him first thing this morning to wish him luck, and naturally incredibly proud of this moment, as many of his predecessors are, understands exactly what's going on, and all his predecessors will be watching now with an eagle eye.
Safely takes possession and ready to transfer it to the ensign, Lieutenant Freddie Hopkinson, who will be trooping the colour through the ranks. And an equally proud day for him and all his family and friends today.
Escort to the colour! Present! Arms! Escort to the colour! Slow! Arms!
So the ensign and the Regimental Sergeant Major resume their positions within the escort. It's all been very smartly done. The escort for the colour now, having taken possession, is the escort to the colour, ready for the trooping to take place.
Escort to the colour! Change! Arms! Escort to the colour will advance! By the centre! Slow! March!
The escort advances in slow time. The music is Escort to the Colour by Richard Ridings. And just take a look at this point as well at the band, because the band is having to perform the equivalent of a three-point turn. Hundreds of musicians supported by the corps of drums, changing direction without changing formation. They do say, Henry, that this is not written down anywhere. It's passed on by tradition. I'm not sure of your take on that.
Well, I'm not actually sure I'm particularly well qualified to comment on what the band are doing, but it's certainly the dark arts of what they're doing there. They seem to get it right every time, and it looks incredibly impressive. And whilst playing music at the same time, it's incredibly professional.
music switches to the stately Grenadiers slow march as the ensign to the colour prepares to troop the colour through the ranks, and this really is the symbolic heart of today's parade. And it really is the biggest moment of his career so far, surely, for Lieutenant Freddie Hopkinson, who was commissioned into the Welsh Guards last year. His parents, their doctors, his two sisters as well, they'd be looking on very proudly today.
Since joining the Welsh Guards, I think that was one of my main goals. Was I really wanted to be able to say that I was the ensign on a troop. It's a massive honour. I think my dad was almost in tears when I told him. Bringing the colour down and showing it off to His Majesty the King is always a great moment. It's always very special. It means everything to not just me, but the battalion as a whole, to troop our colour for His Majesty the King on his first birthday parade this year.
Yes, we spoke to Freddie at Windsor earlier this week, and Henry, it really is the honour of a lifetime in many ways.
It is, absolutely. He joins one of the most select groups in the Household Division who've been ensign to the colour for the birthday parade. And, you know, as you heard him say, and we spoke to him, he is immensely proud. And he's got a big job today, and a lot of people watching him, but he's doing pretty well so far.
So far, it looks like being very sharp and crisp.
Very good, yeah. They put a lot of time in, effort, a lot of practice, a lot of hard work goes into this, a lot of hours spent rehearsing through the winter and then the last couple of weeks, as well as trying to perform and prepare for the coronation. So it's been a very, very tight schedule, but they're doing very well so far.
Well, as the escort completes its trooping, we can see ranges of medals, especially this one, Henry. This is the coronation medal.
Yeah, Freddie proudly wearing the new coronation medal that's kindly been awarded to all members of the armed forces from the coronation of His Majesty. And as you can see, all the members on parade today, both the Foot Guards, the bands, House of Cavalry and King's Troop will be wearing their medal, and it will be issued to members of the armed forces over the next couple of weeks.
Escort to the colour will advance. Left turn. Escort to the colour. Change arms.
Guards! Slow! Arms! Officers! Take post! Quick! March! Numbers 1 to 5 guards will retire. About done! Right form! Quick! March!
British Army, which maintains a corps of drums in each Foot Guards battalion, and unlike Army musicians, who are usually assigned to auxiliary duties in conflict, as Henry was saying, the drummers are fully trained infantry soldiers.
Yes, and sometimes it depends on the role that the battalion are in, but by and large, the corps of drums normally is the machine gun platoon. So they'll train as musicians and buglers, and then when we deploy in operations, they'll become a part of the support company or integrated into the rifle companies when we're conducting operations.
Numbers 1 to 5 guards will advance. About 10! Number 6 guards, close order, march! Move to the right in threes. Form threes! Right! Guards will march past in slow and quick time. By the left, slow, march.
So the parade moves into its next phase, this time involving members of all 6 guards. They march past the saluting base in slow and quick time, with the rousing regimental marches, reinforcing that sense of identity. But before that, the guards are forming up to the tune of a non-regimental or a neutral march, this one called Freedom of Windsor. And these neutral marches, Henry, do perform their own function.
Yeah, they do, Hugh. They are obviously a critical part of the parade now to allow the guards to form up and be ready to conduct the march past. But Freedom of Windsor is interesting because obviously home to the Welsh Guards at the moment in Combermere Barracks, and indeed the Colchester Guards, and elements of the Household Cavalry training troop. And a piece of music written in the 60s by a former Irish Guards head of music to celebrate the fact that all the Foot Guards battalions had had the freedom, and his daughter's actually here today in the Crown, Mr. Maureen Everest, watching with interest.
Well, and hopefully enjoying every note of the music, every step of the marching to. Many of those on parade today, especially from the Welsh Guards, well, they'll have met the King, and they'll have met him as Prince of Wales, either at formal events or more informal gatherings with the regiment. So I think, Henry, it's fair to say that when we talk about a personal link, it's not empty talk, it actually means something.
No, it absolutely is. And you know, we saw the new Royal Colonels earlier on in the procession. They may be ceremonial titles, but they absolutely build a significant relationship with all the regiments. And for the Welsh Guards, you know, the Prince of Wales, then Prince of Wales, now the King, was Colonel of the regiment from 1975. He stood by the battalion throughout significant deployments to Northern Ireland, very difficult times post the Falklands, and then multiple tours that we've had through Iraq and Afghanistan. Always supported us, very particular with the families as well.
There we have a good view of the field officer and brigade waiting, commanding officer of the Welsh Guards, Lieutenant Colonel John Livesey, and he has quite a responsibility today, Henry.
He absolutely does. Yeah, it's a rare occasion. Field officer and brigade waiting, an appointment he holds for one day. He's in a select group of us that have had the privilege to do it, and he's trained incredibly hard. A lot of us in the Foot Guards, not necessarily natural horsemen, a lot of time spent out practicing through the winter, the odd tumble, a little bit of gravel rash every now and then, but you know, he's doing a brilliant job at the moment, and he absolutely understands the significance of what he's doing today, and entirely professional, will be concentrating on what comes next and the process of the parade.
Well, what comes next is the march past the saluting base, and of course King on horseback, who will take salute as monarch for the first time at the birthday parade. ensign marching with the colour to the front of the escort, ready for the march past. And among the vast crowd today, Prime Minister Rishi Sunak, and, along with lots of distinguished guests today, including Prime Ministers of some of the Commonwealth states and realms. When the march past gets underway, all eyes again will be on the ensign, Lieutenant Freddie Hopkinson. Now that he's at the front of the escort, he'll be ready to lower and raise the colour for the King to flourish and to recover, as it's known. Lots of training. And Men of Harlech, the Welsh Regimental March. Colour there, and all the battle honours of the Welsh Guards beautifully embroidered onto this crimson colour. Freddie Hopkinson looking very smart and very sharp. Prince of Wales in his first parade as Colonel of the Welsh Guards, looking on proudly. The Grenadier Slow March, and there's Queen Camilla, as new Colonel of the Grenadier Guards, looking on as Number 3 Guard passes the saluting base. Number 4 Guard, Left Company Scots Guards. Their regimental colonel since 1974, a vast period, has been the Duke of Kent, who is 87 this year, and watching from the saluting base with the Queen and the Princess of Wales. Number 5 Guard, Number 9 Company Irish Guards, and there's the Princess of Wales as their Royal Colonel. Number 6 Guard is Number 7 Company Coldstream Guards. Their slow march is Figaro. And their colonel is Lieutenant General Sir James Bucknell, who is riding on parade today. And then we have the adjutant of the parade, Captain Jonathan Leonard, 1st Battalion Welsh Guards, saluting the King as he passes.
Yeah, Johnny Leonard doing a very good job there. Formal role, the adjutant of the parade, to follow up the parade to ensure there are no defaulters in the old times. But Johnny, very experienced young man, it actually enlisted in the parachute regiment, served on as a paratrooper for a number of tours in Afghanistan before going to Sandhurst and commissioning to the Welsh Guards. So incredible operational experience, as well as how well he's performing today.
Music changing to another neutral slow march. This one is called Cardiff Castle. And the field officer riding out to salute the King now that the slow march past is complete. the stands around Horse Guards today, thousands of family and friends of those taking part in the parade, and of course many more of you following the parade around the UK and overseas. Among those here, the family of Lance Sergeant Chusa Siwale, the lone drummer, we spoke about him earlier. They've been talking to JJ Chalmers.
So you'll be keeping a keen eye on Chusa today. Tell me, how are you feeling right now?
I'm excited to be here. It's the first time to see it. I've seen it on television, but it's the first time to come back here, so I'm honored to be here.
You're not at all nervous for him?
A little bit. A little bit. Oh no, not a little bit, very much. But I know they go through a lot of drills, and I've seen him do very well, so I'm confident he'll do what he does best.
You originally come from Zambia as well. What does it mean to you as a nation to be part of this?
We are so proud of him. We celebrate things like this. As a family, we are proud to see him do what he does best, the music and everything.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. Well, enjoy.
Neutral Quick March is the March of the King's Men. Wasn't it nice, Henry, to hear about the pride of families and, of course, to underline the support of families when it comes to a gathering like this?
Yeah, so lovely to hear that. And I think it would, all of us, none of us in the military can do what we do without the support of our family and our friends and our loved ones who support us. It's an extraordinary commitment, whether we're on operations overseas or whether we're training and preparing for big events like this. It requires a huge amount of dedication and time, and that time comes at a cost. So our loved ones are hugely appreciated for the support they give us.
Sir Keir Starmer, the Labour leader, among those watching the parade today, ready for this march past in quick time. Admiral Tony Radakin there, the head of the armed forces, with his French counterpart. This March of the King's Men, composed in 1937 by Captain DJ Plater, but actually, despite its popularity, it's the first time it's been played at this birthday parade, and it's a tribute to His Majesty the King. It's a question we often ask at this point, Henry, which is to do with the change of pace and the advantage, and are there any disadvantages? I don't know. What are the pros and cons of this big change?
I don't think there's necessarily massive pros and cons. I think there's certainly naturally the change of pace, the change of rhythm, and just the slight adjustment in the formation to allow the guardsmen to swing their arm a bit high, throughout now as they're marching in quick time, whereas before in slow time they have the arm pinned by the side and they're a lot tighter in the ranks. So a little bit of adjustment, a little bit of finding the rhythm, and then ensuring they're stepping out with that 30-inch pace.
It's a great shot, this one. What do you make of it? What do you make of the style so far?
Well, I might be a little bit biased. I think the battalion looking pretty good.
Would it be unwise to place a bet on that, Henry? I think your verdict's going to be positive all the way.
Well, naturally.
But they do look good.
Yeah, I think so far. I mean, all of them looking back down the ranks as the other guards are coming round to into the back approach. So they're looking really good, really sharp. You can see how much effort is going in. And you're having spoken to some of the members of the other guards in the Irish Guards and the Scots Guards, all of them, whether Welsh Guards or not, are absolutely adamant they want to put on the best possible show and set the benchmark for this, the first King's birthday parade.
Because it's a new era. It opens a new chapter, and they want it to be a memorable one.
Absolutely, yeah.
Welsh Guards, quick march, the rising of the lark, Codiad ar Ehedydd. which is a very popular tune back in Wales, not necessarily always in a military context, but it's a great march, isn't it?
It is, yeah. I'm incredibly proud to hear it played out here on the parade square. It's the shortest march in the British Army, 17 bars. But for all the Guardsmen, they will be tuned in to hearing their own regimental marches stand a little taller, march a little smarter as they march past the dais.
Music changing to the British Grenadiers, number 3 Guard, Nijmegen Company. The Scots Guards Quick March, Helan Luddy. Number 4 Guard provided by F Company Scots Guards, commanded by Major James Drummond Murray, a 5th generation Scots Guards officer. The Irish Guards Quick March, St Patrick's Day. Their company commander, Major Mossy Hamilton, in his decade of service in the Irish Guards, it's his first birthday parade. And the Quick March for the Coldstream Guards, Millenolo. Number 6 Guard provided by number 7 Company Coldstream Guards. The music changed to the neutral Quick March by David Barringer, the director of the Household Mass Bands, and it's called Wisdom, Determination and Bravery. Field officer once again riding out and saluting the King. And as the Guards reform for the next stage of the parade, Lieutenant Colonel John Livesey rides out once again, and a few days ago he took a break from all the preparations to share his thoughts.
I'm hoping that the lasting impression that the King takes away from this birthday parade is that it sets the standard that he'd like to see for all the subsequent birthday parades. It's not just showing off my battalion's colours, but it's also having the chance to represent the link between the armed forces and the sovereign. When you're the commanding officer, you invest emotionally into your battalion. So to see them showing themselves off after all the hard work that they have done, the sacrifices their families have to make as well to support them in their role, I feel huge pride.
Lieutenant Colonel John Livesey of the Welsh Guards talking to us a few days ago, and we met him and all of the team down at Windsor earlier this week. We saw some of the hard work going into the high standards for today. We met quite a few of the Guardsmen there who have a great enthusiasm for boxing, and we were chatting about their fitness regime, which put some of us to shame, Henry, I have to say. But what I liked about it was the spirit, the family spirit of the regiment.
Yeah, huge experience. Sorry, huge spirit within the battalion. The battalion is first and foremost Welsh. We recruit 90% of our guardsmen are from the Principality, and the other 10% from the borders, and of course some of our guardsmen come from the foreign and Commonwealth countries around the globe. But yes, absolutely, first and foremost, Welshness and being Welsh is at the heart of the Welsh Guards.
Officers! Take post! Quick! March! Guards! In open order! Left and right! Dress!
On there to the right! Hand! Hand!
Cora drums with their version of the famous tune Cwmrondda as the massed bands reform, making way for the mounted troops to pass the saluting base. Household Cavalry, the King's Troop, Royal Horse Artillery, the mounted band of the Household Division, they're all on their way. Major Paul Collis-Smith of the Blues and Royals, directing the band of the Household Cavalry. He's director of music. And another look at Apollo and Juno, the drum horses, carrying those very heavy, solid silver kettle drums. As we enjoy the magnificent sight and sound of the King's Troop Royal Horse Artillery riding now onto the parade ground, I'm delighted to welcome Major Vicky Fraser, a former commanding officer of the King's Troop, with her expert knowledge of the parade and all the preparations that go towards it. Vicky, it's lovely to have you with us. Thank you for joining us. With all the long and patient wait for the King's Troop, how does this moment feel?
Good morning, Hugh. Well, this moment, of course, you're trying to subdue your excitement, but the commanding officer, Fran Sykes, will be thinking about her pacing, her speed, and also just quickly running through the words of command. The soldiers will be trying to wake up their horses, who would have no doubt have nodded off in the time that they've been waiting to step off. But all the while, they're thinking about their dressing and keeping it exact as they go past His Majesty the King.
Well, they are, as ever, looking extremely smart. They're looking very, very sharp. For us to underline once again, as Major Fran Sykes leads the King's Troop, that the guns, these historic guns, are of the colour, are they not, Vicky? And that is the significance of the guns in this march past and this ride past.
They really are, Hugh. The guns for us are extremely special. These guns date back from the battlefields of World War I, where they were salvaged. They are indeed uninsurable, but they also have no brakes. So the horses that you see pulling them, and the closest ones to the guns, have very big bottoms. So they're used for slowing down the guns and for stopping them. But yeah, the greatest of care is taken over them to get them not only in working order, but to keep them looking absolutely pristine.
Well, they do indeed. Blues and Royal slow march. Household Cavalry taking part now. Two regiments of the Household Cavalry Mounted Regiment, the Blues and Royals, whose Colonel, the Princess Royal, is on parade today, just there on the left, as is the Colonel of the Life Guards, Sir Edward Smith Osborne. Interesting to see, Vicky, because lots of people ask us every year about the uniforms and the gold braid and what that denotes.
And that's right, Hugh. So yes, the House of Cavalry tend to wear an awful lot of gold, but it does have a historic significance. So the higher up the rank you are, the more responsibility you hold. So for example, on today's parade is the divisional commander, Captain Lizzie Godwin, and she would have the responsibility of 24 horses. And in times gone past, that would mean she would have to tie up 24 horses, whereas the section commander would only have 4 horses under his responsibility, and so therefore would only have to have enough rope for 4 horses.
And there you have the definitive answer there from Vicky, so that all the questions you put in over the years have been finally answered to perfection. The farriers with their glinting axes. Lance Corporal Charles Clark sounding the trot past. Trumpeter traditionally riding next to the commanding officer, always on a grey horse. There we see Charles just coming around there. Grey horse, of course, could be seen more easily on the battlefield among all the black horses. Today's riding Otto, who's 13 and has been with the Household Cavalry since 2013. So the King's Troop, once again in prominent position. And Vicky, a word about Fran Sykes, because of course she succeeded you as commanding officer and she will be leaving very soon.
That's right, Hugh. This is her last parade in command, so this is a very poignant moment for her. But yeah, Fran and I go way back, I should say. We went through training together.
25 horses on parade today. Standard of the Blues and Royals. His Majesty will acknowledge the standard, which remains at the carry during the trot past. The King and the Prince of Wales there. And as Colonel of the Blues and Royals, the Princess Royal, who's here, has played an important role in the coronation of her brother earlier this year, and she led the House of Cavalry from Westminster Abbey to Buckingham Palace. Lifeguards in their dazzling scarlet tunics. Director of Music, Paul Smith, band of the House of Cavalry. Kettle drummers crossing their sticks in salute. And a word here, Vicky, maybe about Apollo and Juno. I mentioned their Pembrokeshire roots, but they really are stars of this parade.
Yes, they're both Apollo and Juno, as you mentioned, came from the same farm in Wales, but the House of Cavalry have 4 drum horses in total, and you would have noticed they are the biggest, most enormous horses on parade. But again, this has historical roots in that the band and the drum horses would be the first thing coming over the horizon that the opposing forces would see, and therefore they would be sort of frightened into submission.
Well, seeing the size of them, I'm not surprised that people are frightened into submission. And this is the lovely scene just a few days ago when the Queen was presenting Juno, I think, with, well, a new set of insignia. It was a lovely scene that we saw just a few weeks ago before today's parade. And here they are, very much in presence. Director of Music preparing to turn inwards to signal that he's handing back control to the field officer. There.
Guards! Royal salute! Present! Arms! Guards, in close order. Left and right. Dress! will form 3 ranks. Form 3 ranks. Guards will retire. About 10. At the halt, by division, right form. Quick march.
What's happening now is that the guards are closing up to reduce the length of the procession that follows along the Mall back to Buckingham Palace. Very familiar music is the Adjutant by Burkitt. Because the formal parade here is just about over, Henry, but of course there's more work to come.
Yeah, there is. John will now ask leave to fall out and march the troops back to Buckingham Palace. And of course, you've got to march back, and then actually the escort now will form the guard at Buckingham Palace. So for the men and women in the guard today on the escort, they will march back to Buckingham Palace and take over as today's guard, and then spend 24 hours guarding the palace. So a long day ahead still for certainly the escort, and most on parade as well.
And there is, of course, some unfinished business.
Yes, so Court Lassemoer march back on and give the Sergeant Major his pace stick back. Sergeant Major now recovers his sword because his role in protecting the colour is done. And then Court Lassemoer will take his place with the guard as well as they march back.
Guards! Left! Dress!
And here, if we just keep an eye there to the right, the left guide of the escort, Colour Sergeant Small, moved out there. All the guards can see him, and when he drops his arm, it's the signal then to all 6 guards. It's done.
Shoulder! Arms!
And at the very far end of the parade ground, you can see some movement there, because this gentleman is Garrison Sergeant Major Andrew Stokes, better known as Vern Stokes. We must congratulate him today, not just on an excellent parade, but because he is one of those who's received one of the birthday honours. He's been given the OBE for all the work he's done over the past year with the events that we've had. We'll say a little more about that shortly. Here's the field officer once again asking His Majesty this time for permission to march off.
Ready to march off parade, sir.
So permission has been given. That brings the formal part of the birthday parade of 2023 to an end, though, as I say, there's plenty of celebrating yet to come.